Welcome everybody back to Friar Talk. Today we're going live. Not a ton going on in terms of Padres news, anything like that, but we figure we break down some roster battles, give some spring training updates, stuff like that, and honestly just go over any questions that you guys have right now. Any specific player breakdowns, anything like that, kind of looking at like, okay, what's the outlook for that guy? The main like roster battle, I would say there's two of them. The main one would be Luis Campusano and Austin Nola, how the catcher position is going to look and how it's going to actually play out once the season starts. And then I think outside of that, we're going to talk about some pitching depth. If you guys have listened to Bob Melvin talk about Julio Teheran, he's been praising Teheran a lot. You also got Jay Groom, Cole Hamels, all these guys kind of vying in terms of pitching depth, who can make the roster, who's not going to. And we talked a little bit about Joe Musgrove before, but Joe Musgrove's injury is looked at as a very negative thing, of course, because Joe Musgrove is an ace pitcher. But for the Padres, when you kind of have all these question marks about depth, it's going to give you another roster spot, and it's going to give you about 3 to 4 weeks to be able to rock with that guy and see what he has. So I think spring training, especially for the pitching side, is extremely interesting to see like who actually makes it onto the roster. And who has a chance to start the year and get some innings, get some starts, and get some reps under their belt. So I think that in terms of pitching, we'll be talking about Jay Groom, Julio Teheran, and Cole Hamels, even though there's not too much to talk about for Cole Hamels, but mostly the other two. And then I think what we should start out with is Luis Campusano versus Austin Nola. I feel like this is the year because last year was not a very good year for Austin Nola. This is the year where it's like, all right, Luis Campusano, are you going to take over this job? Are you going to become a 30-40% catcher as a backup? Are you going to play that many games? Or are you just going to kind of fade out? And right now, if you look at Luis Campusano's numbers, they're not going to be too good. He's hitting like a $120 or something like that, a $130. But spring training stats don't really mean too much. Chase, you were at the game, was it yesterday or the day before? And he hit a ball like 440 feet to dead center. So he absolutely
It
killed
was
the
fun.
baseball. Yeah, it was
Fun.
ridiculous. So
Yeah.
when you guys are looking at catcher, what do you guys want the Padres to start the season with? Let's say it's the first month or two. How should they go into the season in terms of breaking down the playing time? What do you think about Luis Campusano getting reps? What are you guys kind of feeling in that end?
Want me to go first, or you got your thought ready?
I mean, I don't know. It's very tough with Luis Campusano because maybe he's not really. He is definitely in a competition with Austin Nola, but I feel like he's more in a competition with. It's gonna sound weird, but with himself, because it's not really a thing where he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna win the starting job. This is more of a thing where he's got to win playing time in general. And the thing with that is they're heavily relying on him. So he has to perform because we don't have another backup catcher on the roster. Last year it was Austin Nola and Jorge Alfaro. Year before it was Victor Caratini, and Austin Nola was out for most of the year. But yeah, Austin Nola in his time in San Diego has done nothing to separate himself from the pack to be able to say this guy's going to be not only our catcher for now, but our catcher for the future. I don't think he's. I mean, I think behind the plate last year he provided a good amount of value just because there was not a lot of stealing. He's damn, what's the word I'm looking for? He's familiar with the pitchers, and he has a lot going for him in terms of how the pitchers think of him. So of course he was going to get a lot of starts last year, and Jorge Alfaro wasn't that good behind the plate. He had a big fall off at the plate, or he had a big fall off in the second half of the season. So there was no competition for Austin Nola. But the thing with that is it's concerning that Luis Campusano hasn't put on a good enough competition to at least be considered for the spot. That is very concerning. And it's funny because we've seen the power. The power is there. It's very good. He's hit the crap out of the ball on multiple instances, whether it be the major league level or yesterday or the minor league level, whatever it is. But he had one blunder already where he dropped a fly ball in foul territory. I believe he had another blunder not that long ago. It's growing pains. I completely understand that. And I really want to see Luis Campusano behind the plate. But to start the season, you kind of have no choice but to just roll Austin Nola out there for at least 3 or 4 of the guys, probably 3 of the guys. to start the season, and then if Luis Campusano doesn't pick it up, you're gonna have to roll him out more. You're gonna have to find a trade partner for, not a starting catcher, but at least catching depth. So you're gonna have to find something if Luis Campusano doesn't pan out. There's a lot of reliability. They're heavily relying on him. We need him really bad. But yeah, to start the season, Austin Nola should get a bulk of the load, and Luis Campusano needs to prove that he can be at least a catcher that can, for this year, hold a 50-50 split.
I agree. So I have an interesting proposal just because it's one of the first things that popped up is, okay, you want Campy to get reps and you don't want him to be sitting every day. What you can do is, this is if you don't want Kim to be an everyday starter right off the bat. What you can do is do kind of like a 3-2 split. 3 games for Nola, 2 games for Campy. And in those 3 games, for when Nola is catching, you can arguably put Campusano at DH just so he gets hitter reps. And Matt Carpenter used to play first base, correct? I'm not crazy. And you could put Carpenter at first and then leave Cronenworth at second. So when you put Kim back in, you can just move Kim to second, Cronenworth to first, and then you have Carpenter to DH, then you have Campy on a rest day. Or he's actually behind the plate. That way you have more flexibility with your lineup. You let Campy see reps from MLB pitchers. Because I think that's the most important thing, other than, he needs his reps behind the plate. We also need to see if his bat can come alive at an MLB level. I mean, that's the one thing that we don't really get to see. We never got to see it with Mejia. We don't want the same thing to happen to Campusano. He really just needs reps at the plate more than anything right now. Because it's one thing if his defense lacks behind, you can always make up for that, and you can always work on your defense to get better at an MLB level. However, if you do not get the reps against MLB pitchers, you'll never know if his bat's going to come alive, whether or not his hit tool is going to translate or not, and you're just always going to be left wondering, is this kid going to be our future because we're never giving him a shot because he can't catch, or is it because his bat isn't good enough?
I completely agree with that, because we've seen that too. Like, you need to get consistent reps, and we've talked about that a lot, especially for these younger guys, and like Campusano, who's extremely unproven. You don't know what he's going to bring at the plate. Now, defensively, there have been a lot of concerns about him, but I don't know how you guys are both feeling, but I feel like a lot more comfortable, at least from just kind of just watching him. I feel more comfortable with him behind the plate. The first, like when he was a rookie, what was that, 2021, I want to say, maybe 2020. I forgot when he got called up. He looked really bad. Like, he looked so lost behind the plate. And they've talked about how he has made massive progressions in terms of being able to call games, being able to catch, framing, everything like that defensively. Is he perfect? No, he still definitely has some growing pains and stuff like that. But overall, I think he's improved there. Now, the problem is, he, like Isaac, you were saying this, but he hasn't necessarily gone out there and balled out, and it's been like, oh, he's clearly should start over Nola. He doesn't need to do a lot to get to the point where he's going to be getting 3-2 reps. Because, Chase, I think you're right. Like, I think right now, if they're going into the season, I think the Padres plan, and we'll get to what we think they should. You kind of showed what you were thinking, Chase, but Isaac and I can get to like what we're thinking in terms of the breakdown. But the Padres are going to go 3-2 or 4-1 in terms of every 5 games. They're not going to give Campy many reps because he hasn't earned them, because he has some weird blundery plays behind the plate and still does that stuff occasionally, and his bat isn't translating enough. And you look at his numbers in the minors. So last year, El Paso, he hit almost 300, almost an 850 OPS. He balled out, right? 2021, over a 900 OPS, almost hit 300 again. In roughly 300 at-bats each of these years, he had 15 and 14 home runs. So he's hitting a ton of home runs. He's showing power. He's playing really well in AAA. But that doesn't really mean anything for him anymore. Like, if he doesn't come in and play really well this year, it doesn't matter that he played well in AAA. Like, he just has to earn his reps at this point. So it's interesting. I mean, we saw that home run, and everyone sees the home run, and you see the talent there. And it's exciting because that ball that he hit to dead center, he absolutely destroyed that baseball. And it was also a cool spot too. You're down late innings. I think it was either the 7th or the 8th inning, and you'd have a go-ahead home run late in the game. So it was really cool from that standpoint, but we need to see more of that. And I feel like if there's anything that can happen to the Padres, it's Luis Campusano turning into a solid player, into a solid bat. He's gonna have crazy lineup protection. If he's playing, he's gonna be hitting like eighth. Him as a hitter, to what he translates, now it's a lot different when you're super young in the league, but if he's been in the league hitting for a few years, what people kind of project him becoming is a much better hitter than an 8 hitter. So it can be a strength for the Padres. The catcher position can become a strength if you have him and Nola, and he's playing really well and he's hitting good. And I don't know. I'm not too excited about Nola, to be honest, just because of stealing bases this year might be a lot easier. And I feel like that's the big concern. But I don't know. I want to see Campusano turn out because he's been in the organization for quite a long time. He's one of the only prospects that's kind of hung over through a few of these periods. And the reason he has hung around isn't well, it's Jackson Merrill because he's so good. Oh, it's Fernando Tatis, he's so good. Oh, it's these top end prospects. No, it's because it doesn't seem like people want him because he's like kind of a limited player in terms of there's so many question marks defensively. So I really hope it works out, but I don't know. I'm not super confident in him becoming the full-on starter. What are you going to say?
Well, it was also because, the Padres like, well, if you take Luis Campusano, we're going to also give you Eric Hosmer. So does it outweigh each other?
Yeah, so I don't know. What are you guys thinking in terms of Chase? You kind of broke down the 3-2 with sometimes Campy DHing. I think that makes sense. Isaac, what do you see it playing out like, and what do you want to see from the Padres?
There's still a lot of time in spring training left, so I'm hoping that it gets to a point where they're going to be able to rely on Luis Campusano to do a 3-2 split with Austin Nola, and I think that's reasonable, especially because this is going to be – he got called up in 2021, didn't play at all in the big leagues in 2022, or maybe a few at-bats. And, I mean, this is supposed to be the year. I believe his ETA was supposed to be last year or the year before, so I understand catchers might take a little longer, but I just don't feel like he's done enough to really separate himself. But I'm hopeful that, he's going to come up, and we don't need him to do too much. Honestly, Austin Nola posts like a 6. Can somebody check his OPS, please? It was like 650, something like that, 660. It's not that hard. It's not hard to envision Luis Campusano putting up maybe a 720, 730 with decent defense. That's already a lot more value. That's 50, 60 more points in OPS.
70.
670?
70. It was 650. And if he hit 720, yeah.
Right? Yeah. See, so that's a big improvement, and it's not asking for much. That's like, I don't know what I'd love if one of you guys could check up the normal OPS, like the average OPS for a catcher. Just saying. But
Dude, it's gotta be lower than Nola, right?
Yeah, I don't know, but
I don't know because you're gonna have outliers like Zunino and Real Muto.
Zunino, yes, he's a big outlier for sure, and it's because he strikes out a lot, he gets out a lot, but his power numbers are crazy. That's a good point, Chase. But yeah, I mean, like I said, hopefully it's a 3-2 split, and if they don't get enough confidence, it's not like they really have a choice. They might have to go with the 3-2 split anyway because there's no one. Who are you gonna start? Pedro Severino? It's like there's not many options, so you're gonna have to roll with Luis Campusano, and you're gonna have to do the same thing like in 2021. They were rolling with, at first it was Victor Caratini and Luis Campusano would catch every once in a while, but they would plug in Luis Campusano when they felt like offense was more important. But he didn't really show that offensive, I guess, power that we kind of expected him to have. I mean, he'd hit the crap out of the ball, but it didn't amount to anything. So overall, going back to your question, hopefully it is a 3-2 split. That's what I'm hoping for. I know Joe Musgrove was comfortable with Luis Campusano behind the plate last year. Blake Snell starting to warm up. Like, you're starting to see a lot of the pitchers warm up to Luis Campusano outside of Yu Darvish. I don't think Yu Darvish will be caught by anyone other than Austin Nola. But yeah, I think Blake Snell, Joe Musgrove, Nick Martinez, If Ryan Weathers gets a start, you can see Ryan Weathers. Jay Groom has been caught by Luis Campusano. There's a lot of guys that are comfortable with him, and that provides opportunity. So he has to capitalize.
So I'm looking just at like the every catcher for OPS, and there's at least 10 catchers that had over a 710 OPS and about another, what I say, you had a 650. There were 22 teams with a catcher over a 650 OPS. Barely, but there were 22 teams, their catchers with over a 650 OPS.
So we'd go into the top 7, you said?
720 would land right in between 6 and 7. Chicago had an OPS of 721 between their. Oh no, my bad. Atlanta had a 721. Chicago had a 716.
Dude, we'd be nice. That's crazy, man. Catcher's such a shit show.
Yeah, just a little bit. Just a little bit.
The good thing is there's a bunch of prospects coming up too. I feel like the catcher position is going to improve. Not only for the Padres, but like for the entire league.
Campusano really just needs to hold it down until Ethan Salas is ready. Because I mean, I want Luis Campusano to be really good, but Ethan Salas is going to be a top 2, top 3 prospect in no time.
I thought it was fuck them prospects, Isaac.
It always is. Believe me, it always is. It always is. It always will be too. But we need him. So,
dude, no, it's just funny. They're like talking about this 16-year-old kid that just signed with the Padres, and they're saying like he's got Hall of Fame potential and everything. Like,
no,
the kid is 16. Yeah, that's wicked. The kid is 16. He doesn't even have a full minor league season under him, and he's like already the next most hyped prospect in possibly across the league right now.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And it's also crazy that he's been getting like at bats off to the side during spring, and they're like, he's even better than we thought. Like, it's not like the reports are like,
what?
You're like, yeah, he looks like who he is. It's like, no, like he's so ahead of schedule. It's like, you guys already were talking about Hall of Fame potential at 16 to begin with. Like, oh my God. So, yeah, no, it is interesting. If Campy, I mean, and that's what Campy's role is like. This is his ETA. This is when he's supposed to fill in. So I really hope he at least starts 2 out of every 5 games. Like, that would be a big win for him. And I also feel like, I don't know how it's going to be, but I feel like in terms of his bat, I feel like there's just going to be a moment where it's like, all right, it's clicked in terms of major league pitching. Because we've talked about like, oh, he has a lot of hard contact. You know, he hits the ball really well in terms of when he's been up in the league, and then he has great numbers and projections in terms of his prospect kind of rankings and in terms of his AAA numbers the last couple of years. So I hope so. This is a good question though, and then we'll get into the pitching after this one. But Sanchez Productions asks, would you rather have Salas paired with Nola or Campusano? Campusano, right? Because Salas' whole thing is that he's going to be unbelievable behind the plate.
I mean, yeah, I solely say Campusano because that would mean he at least somewhat panned out. If he's still with the Padres in that time, that means that he's somewhat a valuable player.
I was going to say, we're talking about like future, right? Salas is probably not going to be within the league within for like at least the next 4 years. And how old's Nola going to be in 4 years? That man's knees are going to be obliterated. His arms going to be over.
Yeah,
Campusano, like
for sure. Yeah, for sure. It's got to be Luis Campusano. I mean, I don't know. Hopefully, it gets to a point where you don't really got to worry about who it is because Ethan Salas is so good that neither of those guys are gonna have to play too much. I mean, they're gonna have to catch sometimes, but Ethan Salas hopefully ends up being so good that it doesn't matter. Kind of like your Salvies, your Yadier Molinas, that kind of thing. I mean, I hate saying that for a 16-year-old because that's so much to expect, man. It's so unreasonable, but That's just the way they're talking. So naturally, everyone else is gonna say that about him.
And there's also just like the hype from the organization too, of like, oh yeah, we're
Yeah.
gonna bring him out there, like we're gonna bring him to Petco, we're gonna do all this stuff. Like
Yeah.
they feel it too. It's not like it's just like all like media hype. They
Yeah.
think that, and they're letting everyone know that they think that too.
Yeah. Mhm.
So yeah, Campy could get Mejia as well. No one ever knows. I feel like, not to be
I keep
pessimistic,
saying it.
it feels like that's more likely, right? Like I feel like that's almost our discussion right now. Is like, please be better than Mejia. Please be better than Mejia. Like, please pan out. Like, even if you're not an
Yeah.
everyday catcher, just be an impactful player in some capacity.
Yeah.
Have a good bat. Like, produce somewhat.
Yeah,
So,
that was supposed to be Mejia's big thing. He was supposed to have a really good bat.
Yeah. Well, remember in the minor leagues, Mejia had that what was it, 50 something game hitting streak or something like that?
Yeah,
It was something
it was crazy.
ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. When they tried Mejia in left field, bro, I know. I know.
It's like when they
Did
tried
you ever-
Bethancourt around.
Yeah, they tried Bethancourt on the mound.
didn't we just say we're going to see Bethancourt? Was it Bethancourt that's pitching or playing for
I don't know.
in the World Baseball Classic, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
he's in the World Baseball Classic. Yes,
Where's he from again? Panama?
think so. I'm not entirely sure. It's definitely not like one of the bigger teams.
No, it's not. It's definitely not. Yeah.
What was
That's
I gonna say?
hilarious.
Speaking of that, yeah, let's go to the pitchers real quick. But speaking of that, I don't know if Juan Soto is gonna play anymore.
Oh, because he's a little banged up, huh?
Yeah, his calf.
We said he's feeling pretty good, but it's still a little like tightening up.
They said
Yeah.
he's projected to come in a little bit delayed, right?
Yeah, so he's projected to leave on Thursday or Friday. He's gonna get treatment in wherever they are, Peoria, I think. He's gonna be getting treatment there. Hopefully, on the side there's a little bit of contract extension talk.
Yeah. Johnny beat you to it, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, so we can let's talk about pitchers now. I mean, it's not necessarily a big competition. It's a few select guys. It's Julio Teheran and there's Jay Groom. Obviously, there's gonna be Ryan Weathers also. But the problem is Julio Teheran, let's say he does make the roster, he's gonna get $6 million. Now, obviously, that's not a lot, but that might be a lot for someone who might not pitch for the Padres for too long. So right now, from what I've heard from Ben and Woods, from Sammy Levitt, it's that Jay Groom is separating himself right now in Peoria, and that the Padres are kind of getting excited for Jay Groom in terms of what they're seeing and what they think he could do in a starting role. His last outing wasn't anything crazy to start, just because he didn't have his control really, but when he settled down, he ended up looking pretty good. And that's been, I think he's thrown like 6-7 innings right now, scoreless ball, a few hits, I think like 3-4 hits, I don't know, something like that. But right now, apparently he's separating himself from the pack. Julio Teheran also is getting some praise. So those are two guys right off the bat that when you think of this pitching depth competition, those are the guys that are locked in. They're locked in with each other right now those guys are going to be the ones that are like, all right, if Joe Musgrove misses time, who's going to step up and be that fifth pitcher? And right now, what Joe Musgrove is doing apparently he's driving like 4 hours a day, going into this chamber, doing crazy stuff so that way he doesn't have to miss a start. Maybe to start the season, let's say he's not ready by opening day, right? Because let's say he's not even ready for another 2-3 games. Maybe you could put him at the 5 to start the season, just so that way he doesn't have to miss a start, and you ride with that for a little bit, and then come all-star break, you change it up again. That's kind of like what they do all the time. So Joe Musgrove is doing everything he can to not miss a start, but in the event that he does, or even in the very likely event that we do have to go to a 6-man rotation, it's going to be one of Teheran or Groom right now. And Weathers, he's going to cement himself in there. There's still a lot of time, but right now it's mainly those two. And the winner outright right now apparently is Jay Groom.
I was going to say, who do you guys want more? Would you guys rather have Teheran or would you rather have Jay Groom?
Easily, Jay Groom.
Yeah, I honestly don't think it's easily, only because it depends on your preference. Like Julio Teheran's pitched in the major leagues before. He has experience. He has successful experience. He's been successful. Like he's had like a 3.91 ERA and multiple seasons within the mid-3 ERAs. However, he hasn't been in the league for a reason. So this could be more of like all right, let's see what he's got, and if we think, if we got no other options, then we're gonna have to pay that $6 million to throw him in to start the season. But Jay Groom is separating himself right now, so that now the Padres might be thinking, hey, well, yeah, he looks good, but I don't want to have to pay him that because we have another guy in spring training that looks good and that we are excited about. So that could also be a thing. But yeah, I mean, that's just because of youth and because we want the Eric Hosmer trade to look as good as possible. Yeah, I'd rather have Jay Groom.
So, wow, I'm not even just thinking that. We need another lefty.
Of course, yeah, of course.
I mean, it's always nice to have another. You don't want to go out there, okay, Blake Snell, you're the only lefty. This is the only advantage that we're going to have. Every other game is going to be, okay, guys, hopefully the righty does his job. Having a lefty in there, it's a good thing to have. You can really screw up a lineup, if they really don't have anybody that can hit lefties, it's a lefty is a lefty. I mean, what do the scouts say? If you're a righty that can throw 90, you're a dime a dozen, but either lefty you throw 90, you're cream of the crop.
That makes sense.
And also too, forget even this year as well about the lefty thing. Blake Snell's a free agent, so you need lefties for the future. And that's why I said I would way rather have Jay Groom pan out, not necessarily for this year, but just in general for the Padres. Jay Groom is – think about this for a second. Jay Groom is 24 years old. He was the 12th overall pick. The reason that he fell down prospect boards and stuff was not because he played poorly. It's because he got hurt over and over
injuries.
again.
Yeah.
Last season, he put up a mid-3 ERA throughout different – like I think it was like AA and AAA kind of combined between Boston and San Diego's farm systems. But he wasn't bad. Like he still has talent. And I remember Chris Cray, he came on the show. He's a Red Sox fan, but he came on the show. He did kind of like some reporting stuff. And when this trade went down with Hosmer, he texted me. He said, hey, dude, like, I know it just seems like a throwaway piece, but Jay Groom's actually very intriguing. Like, don't just look at this and go, oh, they traded for no one. Like, he's a legit guy. Like, if he didn't get hurt, he would probably be in the league right now. And so I was like, okay, cool. Like, we'll see how he looks. He's pitched 6 2/3 so far in spring and has looked fantastic. Now, Tehran has looked up fantastic as well. Yeah, real quick. Johnny says this. He put up below a 4 ERA in El Paso.
Rarity.
Who's done that?
Yeah.
What was Ryan Weathers, like 15? Like, come on, let's be real.
You guys want to hear a name? You guys want to hear a name that's done that?
Who?
Brett Kennedy.
Oh, wow. Throwback.
I think, wow, I forgot that guy existed. You guys remember he had like 10 plus starts in a row with like 0 or 1 earned run in AAA.
Yeah.
Yeah, in El Paso last year, Jay Groom put up a 3.16 ERA in 51 and a third.
Holy wow, that is good.
That's better than you would have thought, right?
Yeah, man. And I mean, it makes sense, man. Yeah, that's all I've been hearing about Jay Groom. Jay Groom is that he's been separating himself. He looks good out there, so that's a really good thing. And yeah, you're absolutely right, man. I think you summed it up very well. That it's been injuries that's been holding him back, not talent. The talent is absolutely there. He was a first-round pick for a reason. He's highly talked about by us for a reason. So, yeah, the talent's there, and he's showing it right now.
Yeah, I think if Jay Groom can pan out, that'd be a really big win for the Padres.
And we don't even need him to be. I mean, you guys are talking about, we need more lefties and stuff. And I completely understand that, but we don't even need him to be like oh, this guy's going to replace Blake Snell. At least for this year, we don't need him to be the guy that's going to replace Blake Snell next year. We just need him to be like the swing guy, or like a guy that if we need a start from someone, it could be him, you know? That's all we need. To me, that would be a success.
I completely agree. But for Tehran, I mean, Tehran's look good too, right? Like,
yeah,
it's a good problem. It's a good problem to have.
It is.
It's a really good problem to have.
It's funny.
Go ahead.
I was looking up Tehran's baseball savant numbers from when he was good, and I was like, how? I was like, how?
He doesn't throw hard. He had a good slider, and he was locating when he was good. Then when he had the location problems, you know, you don't blow a 90-mile-per-hour fastball behind anybody.
Very true.
Who else are you guys thinking? I saw some people talking about a couple different things. I know someone was talking about Jackson Merrill when he was going to come up. Let me check. I actually posted a poll on Twitter. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to look this up. There was someone else that someone said earlier. Let me find it. And I said I would make sure we talk about it.
Merrill.
Yeah, Merrill was the one.
I love Jackson Merrill. However, will he survive the trade deadline is, you know, honestly a better question. Like,
no,
let's
it's
be
true.
real.
You heard what he said, right? Oh, Grish was the other guy that people wanted to talk about. So Grisham and Merrill, let's talk about those two. Merrill, okay, so I posted this 2 days ago. I said, is Jackson Merrill going to join the MLB active roster sometime this season? About 300 people voted on it. 64% no, 36% yes. I feel like that is a very accurate representation of how I feel. I feel like probably not, but there's definitely a chance that he comes up late in the season if he tears it up.
I wouldn't even say if he tears it up. I think it's more of if someone gets injured, he's there.
Yeah, I think everything has to have gone wrong, like what Chase is saying.
I think he could be a monster in AAA, and even then, they're gonna be like trade bait.
Yeah,
that's kind of what he feels like.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you're absolutely right, man. I mean, I don't know. It's so hard to gauge that because Jackson Merrill had a pretty high ground ball rate. He doesn't exactly have too much power. That's not going to be his thing, and maybe he's too young for that. Like maybe it's not like Fernando. Fernando came up and we knew he could hit nukes. He was the top prospect or second best prospect in all of baseball. He was highly touted, and you know, Jackson Merrill might get there one day, but he's not that right now. So it's a little bit of a different situation. Also, Fernando was on a much worse team than you know, Jackson Merrill would be on right now. So the situation right there is a little different. I think if Jackson Merrill shows some power down in the minor leagues, it could very well be, you know, said that, hey, if we need someone as a September call up or something like that, yeah, that, you know, it's going to be Jackson Merrill. But I think we have to see him be able to get the ball in the air a little more to really be confident in his ability to come up and you know, maybe not be an immediate success, but provide depth.
And that's what I was kind of thinking too. I was thinking September call up. Like you come in, the minor league season's basically over, and you play for a month as a September call up as like a depth infielder. Because right now, like, who is he competing with? Aggie when he returns, and Batten,
Yeah,
and Odor,
and
like it's not that crazy.
Yeah.
Nando had to replace Freddie Galvis. Merrill has to replace Bogarts. Let's hope he's not replacing Bogarts anytime soon because Bogarts got a few years left.
11 years.
So,
and well, you know, another thing that's important to remember about that is that, you know, keep in mind the Padres didn't make any guarantees to Xander Bogaerts beyond this year that he will be the shortstop.
I wouldn't mind if he played second.
And I think
I
think
good arm now.
He does, yeah.
Wait, how tall is Bogart? How tall is Bogart? 6'2". He could be a first baseman.
How tall is he?
He's 6'2".
Manny's got
He's
first base.
6'2"?
Yeah, he's huge. I didn't know that.
Bro, I would have guessed like 5'11", 6
Bro,
foot. He
he's
just not look like
almost
he's 6'2".
bro. Okay, get this. Manny's listed as 6'3", 218. Xander is 6'2", 218 too.
Holy shit.
Dude,
Wow,
there's
man.
no way that's
He's
still
big.
accurate.
Honestly, when I saw Manny at FanFest, I was like, whoa, he doesn't look as big as I expected.
Wait, Manny's listed at 218?
He's slim, dude.
I would have guessed 240.
Bro, have you seen his legs?
He seems
I would
bulky.
have said like 230. I would have said 230.
Me too. Have you seen his
But
legs?
I thought he was a little bit
240
taller
hefty.
too.
Have you seen his legs?
They're giant.
No, there's
Really?
tiny Manny's. Yeah, bro, they're so tiny.
Dude, you know what it is? He wears super baggy clothing. Like he wears really baggy clothing. Like Fernando wears tight stuff. You know, like
Right.
Fernando looks super lanky out there because all of his stuff is tight.
Mhm.
Manny's wearing like super like big pants and stuff. Maybe that's why. I've always thought that he was huge.
Yeah, dude,
Did you
no,
see what
his legs
Johnny
are
said?
huge.
I don't
You
want to.
skipping leg day?
Go look at his pictures in shorts and you'll see what I'm talking about.
That's surprising.
Yeah.
It's also weird too because Manny's also just he's known as being a power hitter, right? Like
Yeah. And I mean,
He's
obviously, he
known
hasn't
as the
needed
swole guy in the clubhouse, which is the funny
Yeah.
part. I remember them like
Yeah.
posting, "Oh, Manny's swole."
Obviously, he hasn't needed legs to do what he's done, but I just thought it was funny when I saw his legs for the first time. I was like, yo, like, there's just no possible way.
All right. What about Trent Grisham? How are you guys feeling? I feel like every year we have the discussion. We had it like 3 years
you
in a row.
already know. You already know.
We've
this
had
will
this discussion way too many times.
Yeah, this will probably be my last topic before I hop off, but he looks great. It's unfortunate. He looks great. He looks fantastic. And I don't know what he's changed. It seems like his stance changed back to what he used to do back in 2020. And we just know we're not getting any sort of consistency from Trent Grisham. It wasn't the thing even when he had a successful 60-game season. It wasn't the thing in the beginning of 2021. And it certainly hasn't been a thing since the All-Star break of 2021. Because ever since then, it's been pretty trash. So maybe this is just a hot start and he's going to cool off the way he does that. That's what he normally does. But one thing that will never go away for Trent Grisham is that Gold Glove defense. The best, he's a top 2, top 3 defensive center fielder in baseball right now. He's fantastic out there. So it's not like he has to provide that much value at the plate to be a very valuable player, because I think we've been spoiled in terms of what's been provided to the Padres up the middle, but players up the middle aren't supposed to be like Fernando Tatis, like Jake Cronin, where they're not supposed to be hitting that good, though it's nice for us. But Trent Grisham, if he provides that kind of defense and he does hit 230, 240, 20 bombs type thing, then he's going to be a very valuable player. He will probably be a 3-4 WAR player if he's able to do that, because we just saw who does that sound like? I'll ask that. Who does that sound like? That is pinpoint Ha-Seong Kim, a guy that hits 230, 240, plays immaculate defense, just put up a 3.7, 3.8 F4. That's very much so what Trent Grisham could be. But the thing with Ha-Seong Kim is that maybe he's not too consistent, but he's much more consistent. So really what we're hoping from Trent Grisham is, 230, 240 with, like Nolan said, 20 bombs, something like that. 20 bombs, super realistic, but the average, it's a little scary.
I also think it's like one of those things is where when you compare Trent Grisham to the other center fielders in the league and you look at the top of the top center fielders, you realize that, okay, he's got Gold Glove defense, but he doesn't touch them when it comes to a bat. Because you look at top of the top, you got guys like Julio Rodriguez, Mike Trout, Ronald Acuna. It's hard to compete when you're like, okay, well, Yeah, he's a really good defender, but then you look at the other team center fielders, you take a step down, and it's one of those things where if Grish could just hit, I would say even 225. If he could be like Ryan Schimpf, where he hit like 225 and every hit was like a bomb, I would be okay with that.
Pretty dope.
Nah, bro. Ryan Schimpf was hitting like $120 and every hit was a home run. It wasn't 220, dude. It was
And they were nukes. They were bombs. They were nukes.
But if you could hit like 225 with 20 home runs, my God, we would be unstoppable.
Yeah.
But the problem is that he can't even hit his body weight.
No, it's true.
That's a big problem.
And I see some stuff. Okay, I see a few comments here. Grish was the man in the playoffs. No.
He was
the man in the
for a
wild card
series.
round.
And
then
even the LDS, he was pretty good, but I think he went 0 for 20 something
yes, did not get a hit.
in the LCS. Yes,
Did not get a single hit. So that's the thing. And then John also says here, bro, if Grish should just get on base a lot more, it helps his offense so much. Well, he does get on base. He walks at like a 10-12% clip. The problem is he hits literally dead last in the league in terms of average. Like that's the thing. Like, so when you guys are talking about it, like hit 220 with 20 bombs, he's gonna hit the 20 bombs. He's gonna walk at a good clip. He just needs to hit. He doesn't need to hit average. He needs to hit below average, and he would be a very valuable player. Like, think about that. And that's why he's such an interesting case. That's why for however long Trent Grisham is here, unless he really, really turns it around, we're going to always have this conversation. Because I'll be completely honest with you guys. Every time I watch him, I get a little excited. And I kind of like talk myself in my head like, oh, maybe this is the year for Grish. Maybe this is the year.
Yeah, me too.
And then I see his weird ass swing, and I'm like, dude, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, he hit a home run the other day. Did you see that home run? It just looks weird. Yeah, it looks like
his
he looks
follow-through
like
is
so
the
like
most
tight.
awkward in the league.
Yes. I don't
Yeah,
know.
so I mean, what someone said something about on base. See, I could see why that person said that. Last year, Trent Grisham's on base percentage was 284. It wasn't that good, but normally it's not that. Like 2021, he put up a 327 batting average, or not batting average, sorry, on base percentage. 2020, 352. So in 2020, 808 OPS. 2021, 740. I'm cool with that. In 2020, I was actually very surprised to see that he had better offensive numbers in 2021, like much better. And his WAR was pretty much the same. He went from a 2.2 to a 2.1, despite a very down, not even a down year, a very bad year. So he's turning it around. Why can't Grish? Yeah, because Jason Hayward plays for the Dodgers.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Dodgers have known to historically have turnaround players. I mean, they had Chris Taylor, they had Max Muncy, they had Justin Turner. I can go on and on about the players they've transformed from nobodies to superstars. The problem with Grisham isn't that he doesn't get on base. He doesn't hit for power. It's the fact that when he swings, he doesn't make contact with the ball.
Or he just doesn't swing at all.
Or he doesn't swing at all. The guy has an elite eye. You look at his baseball savant page. He walks at an incredible rate. He doesn't whiff. Or no, I forgot what it was. It was like he walks at a really
does whiff.
He doesn't.
Oh, he whiffs.
But he whiffs at an incredibly high rate. He doesn't chase, but he whiffs like there's no tomorrow. When he swings, it's like you can feel the air. You're just getting free air conditioning. That's what it's like.
And that's the thing. This is what I feel like with Grisham. If you watch Grisham and he's hot, you can be like, dude, this guy's probably one of the best players in the league. Like, if you just watch that, right?
Oh yeah.
But when you're watching like every single game, and it's say the 70th game of the season, and Grisham comes up to bat in the 4th inning, and the Padres are down by 2, and there's guys on second and third with 1 out. Like, great, the RBI opportunity stopped because Grisham is striking out right here, and then there's 2 outs, and like Nola's up next. Like, that's how you feel. And like he doesn't get guys over, and that's always the problem. Is like when guys get on, especially when the Padres offense is going through struggles, and there's always guys on and they're not getting driven in. There's always one guy that is going through, and it's always Grisham, because when he gets those opportunities, that's when he strikes out. That's when those whiffs become a lot more impactful than just like, all right, there's no one on base. Like that's when you feel it. So I feel like that's the thing with him is like it's a lot of like it's not even like when you look at his actual numbers sometimes, but you just know like, dude, I know he's not going to get these guys over. I know he's not going to hit a sack fly.
Getting to your point, it was getting to the point where it was so bad that they were having him safety squeeze whenever there was someone on third.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah. And
that's
and
how you know you're struggling.
Yeah. I like Grisham, man, but I mean, this is do or die. This is make or break. This is truly a make or break year. Like, we're not asking for much. You've done it before. You put up a 740 OPS in 2021, and yeah, you had a really bad back end, but a 740 OPS is 740 OPS, whatever. So it's not asking for much. We're asking you to be an average center field, at like a below average, even just an average hitter at the plate, but provide us that defense, and you're okay. You'll stick around. But if not, the Padres are going to be searching for a center fielder next year, and it may not seem up front like the Padres have a lot of money, but next year the Padres have a shitload of money, like a ton. I forgot what I read in the Dennis Lin article. It is a lot of money, and people don't know it. So the Padres could do another mega contract. So we'll see, man. But that's all I have on Trent Grisham.
Mike Trout. We won't get Shohei. We'll just take Trout. All right.
Than a mega contract.
I don't know if this is a hot take, but I think that this is a make or break it year for Grisham. But I'll say this: I think depending on the season, you're going to see one of two outcomes for Grisham. You're going to either see him traded, not be a Padre, 2024, or you're going to see him extended. I don't think there's an in between. I think it's one or the other, because they want to see him succeed so badly. Like they really, really want it to work out. And the way that they've shown that is that he has played now for 3 straight years, and he's going to play for a 4th consecutive season. Like he's been the full-time starter. So I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, and I think that's probably it, right? I don't think we really got anything else.
Nope.
Anything else you guys want to add? Any updates, spring training stuff? I feel like there's not really a lot going on. Everyone, all the star players just basically left outside of Fernando right now for the World Baseball Classic like a day or two ago. So I think we're going to keep kind of seeing these battles. What was that?
Shohei pimped the hell out of a home run in Japan.
The one off one knee?
Yeah, that shit was sick. Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
No, nothing else, man. Don't worry about Fernando's struggles. It's literally 10 at bats. Soto's gonna get extended this week. Yeah, nothing else.
All right, final question. World Baseball Classic starts in 2 days. Who do y'all got to win?
DR.
DR. DR is the best roster. Yeah. I guess that's a boring pick, though. Yeah. Saturday night. I don't know if you saw this, but it's Venezuela versus DR. That is a good game, especially for the pool games. That's probably the best game there is.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it's a shame Venezuela getting wiped.
Yeah, probably, but they're even solid too. That's the thing. So you never know. But yeah, all right, guys, we're gonna be back Wednesday, 5:30. We'll see y'all there, and then also should be having a guest next week. Should be having a couple little show updates and stuff. So we'll let you all know about that. But have a great night, and we'll talk to y'all on Wednesday. See y'all soon.